Howdy guys, Radio Magic here. I hope you are all having a fantastic morning, day, afternoon or evening, wherever you are and whatever you are up to. Today we are back with our series on the channel with how viable is Control in the historic meta. So last time on the channel we played Andrew Cuneo's Dimir Control list. I'll put a link down in the description for anyone who wants to see that. We ran that list for a few games climbing the ladder to see out how competitive it would be, and I think it turned out really well. I think it ended up going 4-0 overall. Today we're going to give Paulo de Rosa's blue-white control list a go. For those who don't know, he won the Kaldheim championship recently, and in the historic section of the event he ran this control list. However, I thought instead of running this through the ladder, we would give the historic metagame challenge a go that's currently ongoing on Arena to see how it performs going through that. The upside of this is that it's probably going to be slightly more accurate with the list's performance, as it negates the gold ranking that we have on the ladder, and it's probably going to be slightly more competitive, as the entry price to the event is reasonably high, so players should be trying to do their best. The downside of this is this video is going to be super long, as the event is quite long. I think it's 8 wins, first 8 wins or 3 losses, so it's a reasonably long event, or it can end up being, especially if you're running a control list. It's so long, in fact, I think what I'm going to do is split this video up into either 2 or 3 different videos. That's just so we don't have like one 5-hour long video. I know some people on the channel have said they really like long videos, but I think 5 hours might be pushing it. So we'll split that up into either 1.5-hour videos or 2 hours, depending on how long the event sort of goes on for. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to release these videos either a day or 2 apart. This is just due to like time constraints and like editing purposes, just makes a little bit more sense. But anyway, no deck tech, as this isn't my list and the video is already super long as it is. You can find a link to the deck list in the description down below, along with all of the timestamps for the games. You'll also find links for part 2 and 3 of these of the other videos once they go live on the channel as well. But let's waste no more time and let's jump straight in. I'll see you again at the end. Okay, so we are back in Historic playing some more best of 3 with Paulo's Azorius control list to see how it does in the Historic event that's going on at the moment. First to 7 wins or 3 losses. Hopefully we'll come out with the maximum of 7 wins before we lose all of our games, but we'll do our best and see how it goes. So what do we think of this hand? I think we have our Grafdigger's Cage, so hopefully this is going to be relevant in this matchup. And then Baffling End, hopefully a little bit of interaction to get us to the late game, so probably going to keep this. Okay, so Pelt Collector from our opponent, so it looks like they're on some sort of Gruul list. Probably just going to want to take this out. If I had an additional white source in hand, then I'd probably maybe consider leaving this and then just mopping it up with Wrath of God, but I'm going to take some damage in the meantime. So, yeah. Pretty happy we found the Hallowed Fountain. I'm going to hope our opponent like Burning Tree Emissaries here into something else. Unfortunately, this Grafdigger's Cage is pretty much just going to be completely dead in this matchup. So we'll hold up this cast out. Could cycle it. Probably not going to Wrath of God just these 2 away, since our opponent knows we're going into turn 4. I'd rather just take it slow, make our land drops, since we're definitely favoured the later this game goes. We could cycle the cast out now as well. Yeah, I think I actually prefer just cycling. I mean, if we really want to, we can get our 2-for-1 with Wrath of God, but Searcher's Cant is a good one as well. Yeah, just Field of Ruin into Searcher's Cant I think is fine. And then if our opponent chooses to do nothing on their turn, then we're quite happy with that, because Searcher's Cant is eventually going to take over the game. And if they choose to do something, like extend a bit further, then we've always got a Wrath of God to catch us back up. So yeah, this looks like a perfect Wrath of God. Gonna take a bit of damage in the meantime, unfortunately. Haste is an annoying mechanic. Yeah, I mean, it's going to mop up the next thing that our opponent does.
Just get our 3-for-1. Cut our opponent off of mana a little bit. Hopefully they don't go into a Questing Beast here. Opponent's got double Questing Beast. Exactly what we did not want to see. Gonna have to graveyard in our set, I think, at the moment. Just not quite good enough. And yeah, unfortunately, Baffling End can't answer this. So we're just gonna Teferi and then down tick on this Questing Beast. And then I guess we're hoping we untap with Teferi in play. Our opponent could have like a stomp here, so like, yeah, exactly. I mean, this isn't awful for us, because we've still got Search Canter going. Yeah, we'll graveyard that. And we get to hold up Saw It Coming, and exile this Bone Crusher Giant without taking any damage. And, 5 cards in the graveyard, 6, because we're probably going to cast Saw It Coming this turn. And then maybe put the card with Search Canter into the graveyard, and then who knows, maybe find some of our absorbs and we can take over. So fortunately here we get to get kind of 2-for-1. I mean, we get to stop our opponent having a 2-for-1. Could always Field of Ruin as well, which I think I'm actually... Oh, I like that. Do we want to flip Search Canter or just cast a Shark Typhoon? So our opponent will have 2 mana left open when they Questing Beast on their next turn. Or we can make them shuffle away the Questing Beast. I guess we made a mistake, actually. We could have upkeeped Field of Ruined. So if this happened, then we would have the 7th card in the graveyard. I think that's probably right. As it stands, though, I think we're just going to Field of Ruin and then cycle and make a 2-2. Our opponent could choose not to search. In which case, if this last card in their hand is a Bone Crusher Giant, then we're in trouble. I think we're still librarying. Yeah. And then we'll Field of Ruin now, I guess. And cut our opponent off of red. I mean, they have obviously the other red source, but maybe if they have an Embercleave in hand, they won't be able to cast that. And then, yeah, I guess our opponent did choose Search. I actually think it's mandatory. You must shuffle either way. No, I don't think they have to. Yep. So it looks like our opponent has a non-land in hand, since they're still holding priority. Absorb's definitely one of our better cards at the moment. And yeah, we'll just graveyard that. We do have the 8 cards and graveyard 9 now. And yeah, I mean, 2, 3. So we'd have 4 mana left if we activate Search Canter now. So probably just do that in our opponent's turn. Just have a bit more flexibility. Don't tell our opponent what we've got. Really like this, so our opponent with just 1 card in hand. So yeah, I'm liking our position from where we're at now. Just happy to make this trade and then activate Search Canter, and yeah, feel good now. Yeah, just happy to take another absorb. Yeah, still think we can just wait with absorb up. We can always activate castles if we want to. But it's not going to be long before we find a... I guess let's activate this first. Before we find a Teferi or a Narset to sort of close the game away relatively quickly. And yeah, going back up to 9 here is quite massive as well. And we'll hold the cast out because outside of a hexproofing Gruul Spellbreaker, we've actually got a good opportunity of being able to cast out whatever our opponent does. Yeah, Pelt Collector's fine. Got the Baffling End for that. I wonder what opponent's got in hand. Maybe it is an Embercleave. Yeah, just take another cast out. And I think I'm going to prioritise Scrying here above making a 1-1. Yep. I'm just going to scoop it up there. Sweet. So I know that looked convincing, but that's definitely not how it goes against Gruul all the time. So what do we want to bring in? I'm sort of worried about how many red spells we saw there. So we saw Burning Tree Emissary, Gruul Spellbreaker, and Bone Crusher Giant. I think that's it from the red spells. So I don't know if Devout Decree is something we want to bring in. We definitely don't want our cages. I think Doomscar might be something we want here. I think we do want actually the second Doomscar. We want our Aether Gusts. I don't think we want anything else. I imagine Narset is something that Paulio's put in here for just like additional bits of card advantage. Brazen Borrower, not something that's going to be able to block, but a bounce effect. Mainly just going to buy us time. I mean, Brazen Borrower is quite good. Is it better than Devout Decree, and what would we want to cut? Our opponent's probably going to have Clothis, the 3-mana Gruul enchantment after boarding, I imagine. So probably a reason to keep our cast outs in. Might be a reason to bring in Brazen Borrower. Maybe we just cut Saw It Coming because we're on the draw this time. I think we're on draw that game, I'm not sure. But I know that Gruul can come very quick out of the gates. So yeah, maybe we'll just cut Saw It Coming in, favouring obviously the free life from this. And run it like that. And maybe Brazen Borrower is something we're going to want to bring in after going into game 3 if we lose this game. And we need to keep an eye out to see if Devout Decree is going to be any good. I assume this is better again in the sacrifice matchups. But yeah, let's run it like that. Okay, so game 2 against Gruul in the historic metagame challenge. And this hand's, ugh, I mean, it's okay. I think we have to play Irrigate Farmland turn 1, so we're not cycling. And then it's, are we playing Censor or Search Trascanter? Really depending on what our opponent does. If our opponent has Pelt Collector into a hasty 2-drop or something, this is going to be too slow. But at the same time, we've got some Cyclers. A Search Trascanter is going to be good in the late game. We'll give it a shot. I think this is a very medium hand. It's like really dependent on what opponent's going to have. Okay, no 1-drop. Still think we're getting down this Irrigated Farmland. And I don't think we can afford to play Search Trascanter. I think we're just going to hold up this Censor. I don't know actually, because yeah, our best bet might be just to search for board wipe. I guess our opponent's going into Gruul Spellbreaker mana, so we'll probably want to... yeah, our opponent's had one of them draws that's just pretty insanely fast. So a good chance our opponent could just go Embercleave here. We'll see. Yeah, I mean, we're definitely going to censor that. We left it up for a reason. Still taking 6 here, though, so... Yeah, our opponent knows that Doomscar's not coming. Really need to find our Wrath of God. I mean, yeah, we'll take 6 again and hold up Absorb, but we need to top deck Wrath of God, basically. Yep. Pretty good card advantage. So yeah, this is a Baffling End Search Trascanter turn. And hope to find a board wipe off the top. But yeah, we're taking 4 here and falling to 3. I really don't have high hopes, especially when our opponent has on-crop crashes in the list. Collected Companies, so I guess our Grafdigger's Cage is not completely dead in this matchup, but yeah, that's game. Yep. Gruul had the no 1-drop, but double Burning Tree Emissary, definitely really, really good. So, yeah, I don't think Brazen Borrowers are going to be that great. I mean, they'll tempo our opponent for a turn, but, like, yeah. And Heliod's Intervention, like, you could look at maybe the life gain of it, but I don't know, maybe a bit narrow. I think, honestly, we're just running it back like this and hoping that our hand is maybe a little bit better and we are able to find one of our board wipes. Okay, so on the play now in game 3 against Gruul, and I think this is a more than keepable hand, so we'll keep. Just hoping that we find lands, essentially. If we just top deck lands for the first 5 turns of the game, we'll be really happy. It is somewhat risky. Though we get to hold up Censor, I'd really like to cycle this Censor. If our opponent Burning Tree Emissaries here, then I think, yeah, we have to censor this just to slow our opponent down. We are running the risk of not drawing a land next turn. Cycling it might be more efficient. Okay, so paid off a little bit. And since there's not... yeah, I think we're actually just going to cycle the Shark Typhoon. We could put the Sauric coming away. But then if we don't draw land, then we're in a pretty bad position as well. So we'll just cycle the Shark Typhoon. Like, would love to make a 1-1 or something, but just really need to make sure we hit our lands. It's not a land, not a land. 'Tis unfortunate. So, in that case, just cycling Shark Typhoon and making a 1-1, I think, after our opponent attacks. Hoping to find land, and then Wrath of God away the board. I think Questing Beast would be the worst card our opponent could have. Okay, so opponent's just going with the Bone Crusher Giant. Could saw it coming now and just take 3. Opponents tap down both their red. So no more Bone Crusher Giants. Thing is stopping this also stops. I think... yeah. I'm probably making a big mistake, but it's stopping the creature at the same time, so stopping that extra little bit of value. And we sort of just have to miss a land drop, I guess, but just take 3 as a result, and sweet. Okay, so now we at least get to cycle Shark Typhoon and trade with the On-Crop Crasher, which I'm really happy about. Oh, we're in the same position again. Our opponent tapped down both their red, both times. Oh, I think we're going to just take the 2 here. Since the Bone Crusher Giant doesn't have haste. It's interesting, like, because we do have to deal with that Bone Crusher Giant. But at the same time, I do want to hit my land drops. So we're probably going to play Teferi here. Tick up, and then in the end step, Foretold saw it coming. Go full control, since Arena has a tendency to skip past once you do your untap. And then we'll just foretell that. So shield's down, but I don't think we're going to die on this one turn. I could be wrong. Okay, so unless our opponent has a stomp. Okay, they have another hasty threat. So we're going to take 4 here. And lose our Teferi. Unfortunate. Like, I think we... Oh, that was really good. So yeah, let's just Wrath of God now. Wipe that away, and then we get to hold up Saw It Coming. And hopefully that's it. I wonder if we... Because we've got the Baffling End. I think I'm actually going to let this go. Because we have Baffling End. So yeah, we can Baffling End here to Teferi and then hold up Saw It Coming. Which I think worked much better than countering that instead. And our opponent has 1 card in hand, and it's nothing to do with 4 green, so it's not a Questing Beast. And I don't love our position, but it's not awful. I mean, this Search House Counter is going to flip on the next turn that we play it. It's definitely plausible that we lose it here. I think our opponent may have made a mistake earlier on in the game when they were casting these Bone Crusher Giants, the way they were tapping their mana. Yeah, for 5, I'm certainly going to stop that. Yeah, just tick up here. Baffling End, not great, but I guess it will do. So, really look into phase 1 draw here, and pretty much every card that we draw, providing we survive this turn, I'm going to be putting into... I guess Search House Counter is going to flip anyway. I guess Absorb is the best thing we could draw. Yeah, opponent keeps tapping their mana really awkwardly. So, I think I'm gonna... Yeah, we're gonna keep this, since Search Counter is gonna flip anyway. And we'll tick up. Since this will answer the Bone Crusher Giant without us needing to lose the life. Doomscar a little bit late, but still okay. I guess we'll foretell it. And then, yeah, pass the turn. And we'll prioritise activating Search Counter here instead of casting out. But obviously, if our opponent has like a Questing Beast, then love to have that cast out. Now I think the game might be over. Opponent gets to play the Bone Crusher Giant, but we get to Baffling End it. And then Teferi goes up to 8 loyalty. And our opponent has 1 draw, because this can't go at Planeswalkers. And if we find a counter spell here, it is over. Okay, no counter spell. But, yeah, I think that'll be fine. I guess our opponent doesn't have enough red mana, so I guess we'll shock this in. Might be a bit risky, but I'd like to be able to activate Search Canter and then hit an absorb off of that. Okay, so Gruul Spellbreaker is fine. So yeah, that's gonna be game there. Can cycle this for 5. Eat the Gruul Spellbreaker. Our opponent knows about the Shark Typhoon as well. And then Teferi's going to ultimate, and target 1 is going to be that Ramanat Ruins, just to get that gone. Let's ultimate. Let's cycle Sensor, just to get a trigger. Exile that Ramanat Ruins, and then we can breathe. Let's activate Azcanter now. Great. Yeah, I think this is fine, because we can just exile the other... I guess we should actually probably play it sensible and sit back for a turn in case our opponent draws a Questing Beast. And yeah, we'll take that red source, but I think our opponent could have probably taken their draw step there just to see what they find. But yeah, sweet. Okay, so picking it up game 1 in the Historic Metagame Challenge. Let's move on to game 2. Okay, so we are on the play this time in the Historic Metagame Challenge, seeing how we're going to get on. We're against Gruul Aggro game 1, and we'll see how much Gruul there is, because when playing the ladder I found there's quite a bit of it. So we'll see, but this hand would be good against Gruul I think, and especially on the play, and good against most lists, so we'll give it a keep. Hoping to find a second blue source so we can cast this Absorb on time, and saw it coming if we want to. We've got things we can be doing in the meantime. Maybe it was correct to play Glacial Fortress first. Just so we don't give away that we might have. I don't think we're going to be cycling Shark Typhoon this turn for nothing. Since we have our next land drop, so we're not desperate to hit lands at this time. And this guarantees we'll at least have 1 counterspell up next turn. Okay, so probably against like a Doom Foretold list. So against Doom Foretold, this Wrath of God is essentially dead. I mean, unless they're playing the new 4-mana Angel enchantment. I think we'll cycle this just for 1. Then the Wrath of God might be quite good. I guess at the very least it's like discard fodder. And our opponent is on Esper. No Yorion, so they're playing the 60 card list. I think we'll play Castle and cycle and make a 2-2 if we get the opportunity. And then we're sort of in a position now where we can kind of sit back on our counter spells and our opponent has to do something. You can imagine that they have a little bit of removal in hand. It's just whether they've got removal like Oath of Kaya or whether they've got like Heartless Acts. I think there's going to be a fatal push here. Oh, Drown in the Loch. Nice. So that has removed quite a bit of our pressure. And yeah, I guess we're on activate Castle Ardenvale now. If our opponent does nothing. Looks like they're not. So yeah, let's keep activating Castle Ardenvale and make our army of 1/1s. I think our opponent know. I mean, they can gain a bit of life here, buy themselves a bit of time, but I think they know that they have to make the first move here. Sort of incentivize to cycle some of these. Really do want to hit our lands. Opponent's double black there. Okay, so Doom Foretold. Yeah. I mean, could cast out this. Opponent's going to have to sacrifice Doom Foretold unless they have an Omen. But in which case we can censor the Omen. I guess, I mean, I don't really want this to go off because it's going to go off. So probably just absorb it. Rather do absorb since the life gain's not too relevant. I mean, we get it out of the way anyway, but the Sauric Coming's a lot cheaper. And if our opponent hand hates us, then at least we have the Sauric Coming in reserve. So opponent's worried about this 1/1. Yeah, I think we're going to let it go. And now looks like a good opportunity to find a Teferi or a Narset. No such luck. In 3 colours and our opponent's running a Blast Zone. I wonder how many basics they're running. I guess we'll find out soon. But yeah, back to Castle Ardenvale. Because I kind of really do want to Field of Ruin our opponent just to see how many basics they're running. Oath. Yeah, I can't be too worried about Oath. Buy our opponent a little bit of time. But like Wrath of God and Doomscar, Oath is one of our opponent's dead cards, so we don't want to use a real card on that. Yeah, gonna censor. Gonna cycle the censor. Yeah, drawing 3 of 3 pretty much dead cards is pretty painful. I mean, our opponent could have Starnheim Unleashed, and they could have, like I said, the 4-mana Angel Enchantment. Sweet, so, yep. I think I'm fine with that. Opponent's going to put us under a little bit more pressure than we're going to put them under. But we do have the Baffling End, because unfortunately all of our cards at the moment are just completely dead. Yeah, I mean, we can't really cut our opponent off of a colour of mana, but we could take out this Blast Zone. I mean, we don't really need to at the moment. May as well save the Field of Ruin. Our opponent might have like a Sertras Cantor or something. Okay, Narset. I don't think Narset's worth playing out this turn. We run the risk of our opponent having hand hate, but it's really likely that our opponent's just going to Brazen Borrow here. In which case we don't want to just lose our Narset or lose free loyalty on our Narset for nothing. So we'll wait till next turn where we can Baffling End the Brazen Borrow. Okay, so we're looking probably at Doomscar or Sauric Coming here. Yeah, so let's attack. And I guess let's Narset first. Opponent could have a Drown in the Lock, which I think I will Saw It Coming if they do. Have an Absorb. Yeah, I think I will try to stop that. The card advantage Narset's going to provide is going to be worth its weight in gold. Oh, no. No. That is rather unfortunate. So I guess that's just Baffling End. So unfortunate when you whiff. Could have maybe shocked in and just Doomscarred there. Oh no. Things have gone so bad. And this was, did not expect the extra turn spell. I don't know why though, it sees a lot of play. But yeah, unfortunate.
Fury will only lead you astray.
Okay, so suddenly not feeling so good about our position. I think the whiff on the Narset has knocked my confidence a little bit. Didn't say please. Opponents just covering themselves. So let's attack. And I guess let's wipe away the board. And at least we get to keep our Narset. I mean, yeah, not gonna use a sensor here. Oh my god, 2-Vs, no. He said oops. Yes, very much so. I guess we probably want to cycle this sensor maybe. In which case, yeah, I guess we'll just Wrath of God. But yeah, I don't want to use a card like Censor when we just have like so many dead cards at the moment. I mean, I don't know how many our opponents drawn. We'll have a look in a second, but we've drawn like Wrath of God, Baffling End. Yep. Doomscar. Drawn quite a few dead cards. Opponent gonna, yeah, cast Fey of Wishes. Opponent can bounce it back instant speed. And we lose an Narset here. But we lost 2 Teferi's and no ECDs in the list. So yeah, probably just back to activating Castle Ardenvale. Opponent chose not to activate Fey of Wishes. I guess we could try and exile Fey of Wishes with Cast Out in response to them activating it. And then they'd either discard their whole hand. Oh. Yep. Not much we can do about that, unfortunately. I mean, we're going to cast it out, but... The problem is our opponent's on the Doom Foretold plan, so there's a way they can make us sacrifice that cast out. Got to kind of blow up this Doomscar now, this Blast Zone. I guess we can wait for our opponent to put the counters on it. We'll just activate Castle Ardenvale. Okay, so Teferi of our own. I mean, our opponent could have a Drowning Lock. They've gone past 2 already, but YOLO. Not really much more we can do at this point. Okay, opponent's running main deck Dovin's Veto. Not really too much we can do there apart from just cast out our things and hope. But definitely going to Doomscar while opponent's tapped down for the Fey of Wishes. But yeah, I think opponent just had maybe a little bit too much for us. Fey of Wishes was a good one. We drew kind of dead. I mean, we're not out of it yet, but we're sort of making our bed at the moment. Opponent's making it for us. Okay, yeah, well, that's probably going to be GG. Makes me wish we held on to our board wipes just one more turn. We'll see what we draw. Probably sacrifice Baffling End here because the only thing that's going to get us out of it is a board wipe. Yep, don't think that's going to do it. I mean, we'll cycle. Yep, scoop it up there. Could maybe have one more draw, but opponent's got 3 cards in hand. They're going to have 4th. Like, it's just not looking incredibly likely. So, what do we want in this matchup? I feel like Brazen Borrows is going to be quite good. Mystical Disputes, Narsets, and Dovin's Vetoes. We can't like all this board wipes and like Graph Digger's Cage, Baffling End. Can maybe see, I mean, like Graph Digger's Cage shuts down Dance of the Mance, but at the same time it's a big X cost spell. I'm sure our opponent's going to be scared of casting it into our near infinite amount of counter spells. So maybe just a Heliod's Intervention, since it can destroy a few of our opponent's enchantments. And maybe they're running cast outs of their own. I'm only bringing it in because not really much else we can bring in. And it's probably our best card. I mean, maybe the board wipes, but we've got like answers with cast out, can cycle, Shark Typhoon. Would like to see this Dream Trawler at some point. Okay, so on the play in game 2 of our second game of the Historic Metagame Challenge. And we're against not Yorion, but like sort of a Yorion list, Doom Foretold, Esper. And we're going to keep this hand. I think this is a reasonable hand, hoping our opponent doesn't have a Mystical Dispute. They could have Thoughtseize and soon to be Inquisition. Okay, just Temple. We didn't actually take the opportunity to Field of Ruin our opponent last game, so we don't know how many basics they're running. Since they look pretty greedy with this mana basis. Good opportunity to resolve our Narset. So our opponent can have like an Oath of Kaya here. Probably still tick down. I mean, our opponent could have an Eliminate at the same time. They're probably boarding out Eliminate though. So maybe just don't tick down. Run the risk that our opponent doesn't have a removal spell. Because if they've got an Oath of Kaya, I'd rather let Narset sit on 2. Yep, sweet. So we don't get to counter that, unfortunately, but it's going to put us under quite a bit of pressure. I guess there's our answer to it. We do have Absorbs now. So looking for an opportunity to cycle this cast out, cycle this Shark Typhoon and cast out this Search Canter if possible. Yeah, there's the Oath. So yeah, probably just going to absorb that so we get the extra activation of Narset. Feels like a dead card, but our opponent can blink the Oath as well. They've got ways of doing that. We saw the 2 mana. This just scries. We saw the 2 mana instant, I think it is, that exiles a permanent and then it re-enters in your end step. And if it's a creature, it gets a +1/+1 counter. Not something you normally see in these lists, but worked out when our opponent played it. So you've got to imagine the opponent has quite a bit of blink if they're playing Witching Well, not normally something I see. Veto is good, so we get to hold up Absorb and Veto here. Really want to answer this Search for Scanter before our opponent can flip it, but at the moment they're not putting a load of cards into their graveyard. Think going to cycle Shark Typhoon here. Because the Search for Scanter is not very close to flipping, I think putting our opponent under more pressure is probably better here. And I think it's more likely that our opponent will let the token slip than they'll let Narset slip. Though probably going to drown in the lock. Oh, Mortify. So I'm not really sure what our opponent's up to, because they've got a load of different synergies going on at the same time. Yeah, I think I like this cast out here. Just do it now. And then I guess if our opponent taps down, we've got Censor. If not, then at least Veto can answer a Teferi. Yeah, maybe it's just best not to tap down there. So our opponent can get rid of the Narset by ticking up on the Blast Zone here. I guess if they do that, then in response we'll just Field of Ruin. And then we'll see how many basics they've got. Okay, so opponent gets to draw 1. Gonna Field of Ruin now, since we're gonna want to take out that Blast Zone with a cast out at some point. May as well do it while we've got the mana. Field of Ruin was a good answer to Searchlight Canter as well, but I think I'm fine with just casting it out. Only gonna gain some life. So I said I wanted to see Dream Trawler at some point, but I don't think this is the matchup for Dream Trawler. Would have really liked to have seen it in the Gruul matchup last game. So I think I like just absorbing. I doubt our opponent has many creatures. The veto is going to be better later on. You know your opponent's got a counter spell when they leave up that mana. So yeah, we'll just go for free, try and put our opponent under a little bit of pressure. And if our opponent taps down here, then probably just try and resolve this Dream Trawler. I might even try to resolve it anyway. Yeah. I mean, opponent could have a board wipe. If they have a Doom Foretold, then I'm probably like sacking the cast out maybe instead. But if Dream Trawler gets to untap, then feeling good about our position. We can just get like 1, maybe 2 attacks off of it. Opponent knows about the veto. They might just have to like force their way through this. Brazen Borrow is good as well. I think Brazen Borrow is good for the reason that we just get to apply a little bit more pressure. Okay. So I think I'm happy to just discard a land here. I don't really want to veto. I'm happy to trade a land for this essentially counterspell. And yeah, I guess we leave land in hand so we can do that again if we need to. Yeah, I don't think we can allow this. I mean, what are we attacking for next turn? 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 we could be. 11. How much mana is it castle? 5, 2. Oh, so had we have played the land last turn, we'd actually might be in a position where we'd have lethal with Castle Bard and Vale. I guess we'd have to draw 1 more card. Yeah, I think we are going to veto this. Are we just playing Brazen Borrow out here? We'll be attacking for 5, 6, 11. I mean, putting our opponent to 1 is still really good. Maybe it's just better to hold that though and just use the Arden Veil. Oh, so painful. So painful. I mean, we could... Yeah, I think we're going to try and go for lethal here. Okay, Teferi's a good one anyway. Maybe should have bottomed the land. But yeah, had we have gone with the Brazen Borrow plan, we would have had lethal. So yeah, I think just play Teferi, tick up here is fine. Just try and do as many things as possible to seal the deal now. And we get told up Censor, though I don't think Censor's going to be very good. I guess the best thing our opponent can do here is wipe the board, giving us a good game. Sweet. So going to game 3. So I don't really know what to think about what our opponent's doing. Because Drown in the Lock, Witching Well, Mortify, not normally things you'd see in the Doom Foretold list. And I know that Ugin the Ineffable was something that was in the early variations of it, but not so much now. And even Teferi I don't see sees much play. Sertress Canter. Yeah, I mean, it looks like our opponent just has a ton of removal. I feel like we're just going to run it like that. So, full steam ahead to game 3 against Doom Foretold. And this hand looks a little bit disappointing, but I think we're going to keep it anyway. I mean, it's okay, just the Heliod's Intervention isn't too exciting. I'd rather, like, not tell our opponent we have a sensor, maybe. I mean, I guess that's a good sign. Opponent had no turn 2 play, so hopefully we can get something with a sensor. Not gonna attempt to counter a golden egg. I still think sensor might have some use. And I guess at the very least that Heliod's Intervention can shoot these golden eggs and like little things that opponents might have. Our opponent's had removal for the shark every time, so probably just going to cycle this now and let our opponent remove it. Opponent only has single blue, so they're not going to hold this Fetid Pools to cycle. They're not going to have Brazen Borrower just yet, or the flying side of it. So yeah, just pass the turn. We've got Absorb, Sensor, Irrigate Farmland up. Okay, opponent's ticking that up. We can answer it Field of Ruin, so it's not an issue. I actually don't think I took note last game if our opponent got a basic off of the Blast Zone. Hopefully, maybe you guys watching paid more attention than I did. I'm just going to let this go. Our opponent has no blue mana up. We can just Heliod's Intervention it. So our opponent's missing a land drop here, so we're going to Heliod's Intervention above cycling the Irrigate Farmland. And we're going to, I guess, do it for 2, since our opponent looks a little bit stuck on mana at the moment. Colours as well, so we don't want him to have any fixing with the Golden Egg. They can maybe sack the Golden Egg now to counter something. No, just going to gain the life. 4 mana to destroy Sertress Canter. Like, could do better, maybe. I really wish I remembered if our opponent had a basic. Because if they don't have a basic, then doing this now will be good. If they do have basics, then it feels really bad because they're going to allow to get the double blue or double black that they need. I'm going to assume that our opponent's in 3 colours, and they're running Pathways, they're running Shocks, and they're running the Temples, and they're running Blast Zone, that they're not running basics. So we'll blow this up. And I guess we'll get a plane since we've got Island in hand, Island on the field. Our opponent does have basics, okay. And they did manage to fix their double blue. I guess we still answer the Blast Zone. We had to do it at some point. Gruul in Barons, no. Yeah, I would have much rather a Field of Ruin than Crawling Barons. We don't have a solid answer to that. Yeah, I'm going to cycle this Sensor now that we have Absorb. 2 of them. So, I don't know. I mean, Crawling Barons is going to be quite a bit faster than our 1/1 Shark. We have 1 more Field of Ruin, I think, in the list. Really wish we saved that Field of Ruin just 1 more turn. Then again, I don't know what our opponent's plan is. If their plan is just to activate Crawling Barons each turn, then I don't know. I mean, we're still cycling and doing bits. Spinning the wheels. don't think we can Teferi here. Kind of want our opponent to tap down maybe first. Though, yeah, we can't just Teferi here. But the problem we're going to be in now, I guess we can hold back with the Shark token. That our opponent could just activate Calling Barons on their turn and then just answer Teferi. But I guess if we hold back the Shark, then they're not necessarily in a position where they can do that. Looking for our opponent to make a move first, but I think, oh, they just didn't activate Calling Barons there. Happy with that. Yeah, I kind of want to start a counter war here. Hoping our opponent, okay, our opponent's not going to fight over that. I was hoping our opponent would fight and tap down. Because I would really like to resolve this Teferi. Oh, never mind. We'll just cycle the Shark Typhoon. For a huge amount. Yeah, I don't think Cast Out targets Calling Barons. It targets non-land permanents your opponents control. Yeah, let the Golden Egg go. So our opponent's got something very specific, otherwise they wouldn't have tapped the Crawling Barons. They'd be waiting to put mana into it. So how much mana have we got here? 3, 6, 7 we can do it for. I think we'll do it for the full amount. It's a 2-turn clock. I've got like a petty theft here. Opponent's running like very confusing list. Okay, I think I'm happy to bait with the Narset here. We'll hold back with our Shark this turn, so our opponent can't make the play we described with activating their Calling Barons and then just attacking through and killing our Planeswalker. So we've already laid land this turn, so we can let Narset go and still cast a Teferi with 2 counter spells available. Yeah, I think since Narset only gets 2 activations, equally we could stop this, activate Narset. Oh, that's a tough one. I think it's actually better to fight this. But 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If we cast a Teferi, we'd only be able to hold up 1 counter spell. Unless we found a veto off of the Teferi. If we absorb here, yeah, I think I'm gonna absorb this. We'll hold the cheaper counter spell. It's unfortunate we haven't just got 1 more mana available to us. Okay, veto's a good one. Veto's going to give us some assurance for next turn being able to cast a Teferi or stop what our opponent's doing. Our opponent might make a play here thinking that, like, because we've got Narset, we're going to generate some card advantage, so they kind of want to put an end to that as soon as they can. And here we go, they're making a play. I think we're going to saw it coming. Though our opponent knows about the veto. Yeah, maybe because they know about the veto, we'll cast veto first. I don't know, because if our opponent goes like Ugin next turn into Ugin holding up like a Mystical Dispute. I can't remember if they have Mystical Dispute in the last game. I mean, yeah. Could just let Narset go here. I know we fought over it the first time, but we got our value. But then, no, I think we counter this, and then we get a Narset activation and a Teferi activation, and then our opponent has to answer both Planeswalkers. Giving us a good game. Yeah, oh, that's tough. Because Search Rescanter is going to just completely take over the game. I don't think our opponent's going to have a destroy all non-land permanents. Oh, that's tough. Do we take the Searcher's Canter? Because it's only the one of. If we put it on the bottom, we're not getting that back for the rest of the game. I think we take the third threat, because Searcher's Canter is like a pretty potent threat at this stage of the game. That's tough. I don't know if that's the right decision or not. Oh, it was 100% the right decision. Had I have known, I would have top decked and absorbed there. Yeah, I would 100% be taking Searcher's Canter, and there's no reason to attack here. Gonna sit back and block this Crawling Barons if required. And yeah, if we get to flip the Searcher's Canter and then Teferi as well, yeah, just opponent gave us the GGs and didn't concede though. Not a massive fan of when opponents do that. Could have maybe tried to cast this out instead. Opponent can have like a veto. Yep, so is our opponent going to answer our Teferi, or are they going to answer our Searcher's Canter? Because I would imagine that Teferi is something they can answer in the future. But Searcher's Canter is going to be something they struggle with. Okay, opponent's going to do neither. I assume our opponent would have killed one of our two Planeswalkers there. We've got cast out, so I'm not really worried, so we'll just tick up.
You know what? I'm not done.
Yeah, we'll activate Searcher's Canter. Grab another Teferi. Cast out the Ugin. No attacks. We'll plan on chump blocking this turn. And worst case scenario is if we can't chump block because they Crawling Barons as well, then I guess we'll just activate Searcher's Canter. How worried are we of Kaya? Like, not particularly. It can exile our Shark. It can exile things out of our graveyard, but yeah, I'm not really too worried about that. I think I'd rather save my my Dovin's Veto for something else. Feels like a bait spell.
I'm gonna make you suffer. I had guild business to attend to anyway.
So yeah, if our opponent's plan is to just animate the Crawling Barons, then I think we're okay as well. Since we just get to throw our 1/1 in the way. That being said, we don't have a solid answer as Crawling Barons. We need to find Field of Ruin. Okay, opponent's sending 8 to us. We just take 8 here. Let Narset go and take 8. Yeah, I think I'm happy with that. I think I'd rather have the Searcher's Canter activation.
Such violence is upsetting.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, and I mean, it could just tuck the Kaya here. Then, like, rushing the ultimate also seems quite good.
Keep up the pace.
9 minutes left on the clock. Got to move with some pace.
Keep an open mind.
Yep. I mean, it could activate Searcher's Canter here. I think I just want maximum mana, though, available. So we can potentially activate Castle Ardenvale twice. Block both of these things coming in. Don't want to make the token now, though, because Kaya can exile it. But yeah, Teferi, if Teferi gets to its ultimate, then just going to be enough, isn't it? Opponent forget to activate their Crawling Barons? Nope. So opponent's just going for lethal here. Just trying to kill us quickly. It makes sense to attack Teferi, I think. You just want to keep him off of ultimate. No, opponent's sending everything at us. Yep. So one token here, blocking the Crawling Barons makes sense. Does not have trample. If our opponent can give it trample, then I guess we'll counter that. And then our opponent can start eating our graveyard, but again, not too worried about that. Kaya will be an issue, I guess, in the future if they hit us a few more times with this token.
Something banished. Funny, that's what I do.
But we're 2 turns off of ultimating Teferi. And we have 2 Dovin's vetoes, so Shark Typhoon will be fine. And can't really cycle the Shark Typhoon. I guess no, Kaya can just exile it. So yeah, probably just untap here. Tick up.
We need to move quickly.
Another castle. Activating Narset.
Meditate and prepare.
Another Shark Typhoon. Yep. Think I'm just happy just to pass the turn here. Just keep up maximum mana. I don't think there's anything in our list that we want at the moment. We've just got everything we need. So opponent's trying to get Ugin back. Yeah, I don't think we're going to allow them to have that. So if our opponent has like 2 really relevant spells, I guess 2 spells that answers Teferi then. I guess our opponent could also send both the Crawling Barons and the 2/2 at Teferi and have like a cheap relevant removal spell. And then they could kill Teferi. Or at least take 2 loyalty off of him. Again, I'm trying to avoid killing this spirit if at all possible. This is, if we get to untap Teferi on 8 loyalty, then it's probably the last turn of the game. So, opponents obviously going to use all their time now just to make sure that they make the best decision they can. It looks like maybe a Dance of the Mance. They're looking at the graveyard. They don't know about the second veto. So, yeah, opponent's going to need another relevant spell here. They're just targeting 2 Searchers Canters. As you do. So, yeah, let's just make a 1/1. I mean, okay, I want to give my opponent the good game, but that was the second time they're good gaming us without actually conceding. So, yeah, Paulo's list doing quite well. So far, we are 2-0, moving up. I think I said earlier that it was first to 7 wins, but I think reviewing it, it's actually 8 wins. But, yeah, let's move on to Game 3 and see how we get on. So, Game 3 in the Historic Metagame Challenge, using Paulo's Azorius control list to see how it does, and let's see if we can reach them 8 wins. So, on the play for Game 1, we don't know what we're against, no companion for our opponent. And I think we're going to keep this. I think cycle this cast out early. A little bit risky, but we don't know what we're against, so it's really difficult to mulligan for a hand Game 1, especially when you're on the control list. You don't necessarily have, like, a solid plan that you want to execute. Okay, looks like we could be in the mirror match. So I would like to find a counterspell. And ask and thou shalt receive. Maybe if we shock this in, our opponent might be more hesitant of a censor here. Yeah, it looks like it's the mirror. Against the mirror, like, I don't know, it's really going to depend on how each player draws. Cage is not going to be that great. Probably just going to let it go. Looks like our opponent has more cyclers. I guess like Searchers Canter is going to be one of our better cards in this matchup. It's going to be unlikely that this Teferi is going to resolve. Field of Ruin as well. We're going to have to utilize Field of Ruin with Teferi rather than trying to strip mine our opponent. Yeah, not much we can do about that, unfortunately. This matchup's like skill dependent, but at the same time, it's like depends on what you draw. For example, if we draw all of our Wrath of Gods and Graph Digger's Cages, then we're going to have a pretty rough time. If our opponent keeps finding Shark Typhoons, then they're going to have a much better time than us. That being said, Shark Typhoon. So we'll take 2 more and then we'll cycle the Shark. Make a 4/4. I'm just going to Behold. So yeah, kind of got to let this go. Rather disappointing that we don't have a Behold. So yeah, just going to cycle for 4 here. So our opponent's got. I think we will be attacking as well. Got a much larger Shark. Drawing second board wipe is essentially like a dead card, unless our opponent has a Dream Trawler. I guess we will just play out this Graph Digger's Cage. I don't know, maybe our opponent has Torrential Gear Hulks. But I know we don't. So we'll just pass the turn. Maybe we should have played Tap Land. Okay, opponent's just going to cycle. Next turn we're in a position where we can Teferi and Absorb. So providing what our opponent does here, if they tap down a little bit and just leave a single counter spell up, then we could make a play. We're also putting our opponent under quite a bit more pressure than they're putting us under. Probably, maybe should have Field of Ruined in the end step there. I think we're just going to lay tapped Hallowed Fountain. And just pass the turn. See if our opponent like answers our Shark here. They could have Baffling End. No, opponent's got a big Shark. So probably quite likely that we're just gonna Wrath the board next turn. So opponent's attacking for 7. The problem is we are in a little bit of dangerous territory of our opponent end step cycling a Shark and killing us. So yeah, we'll Field of Ruin this Vantress. Opponent didn't want to float the mana in response. And then we'll cycle here. I mean, Shark Typhoon's okay. I think we've got to save it though. And just try and wipe the board away. I guess we'll attack for 4. It's going to be unfortunate if our opponent has a double counter spell here. Which is possible. Yep. So we can play around Censor by casting the Absorb. But so do we cycle and make a 2/2 here? And play around our opponent having a removal spell, block the 5/5 and fall to 3? Or do we just go with the Absorb? Or do we go with the second Wrath? I think we hope our opponent doesn't have a removal spell. Difficult. I think we're in just a pretty bad situation here, just the way things sort of lined up. Maybe we should have sat back with the Shark and not tried to race our opponent, but
It's difficult to know what we're going to draw and they're going to draw. So if our counter resolves here, then we'll survive the shark. But if our opponent counters our counter spell, then that's it. That's game as well. We've got to let this resolve.
I'm known for my excellent timing.
Looked like our opponent was going to attack our 4/4 shark then. So that's interesting. Yep, ticks up.
Hold that thought.
So things we could have done differently in this game. Okay, it brings me faith that our opponent's casting a Narset here. I wonder if we counter this Narset now. Unless our opponent's running main deck Mystical Dispute. I'm willing to say that they're not running main deck Mystical Dispute. Come on, don't be running Mystical Dispute. Yes, okay. Okay, so that's fine. So yeah, fall into 1 here. So our opponent gets to hold up their Absorb now. I guess, can we even attack Teferi here? So we can cast our own one. We have, how much mana? 4, 8, 9 mana. So Teferi and Wrath. So we get to Teferi, they get to counter our Teferi, and then we get to Wrath away the board, and then they get to uptick with their Teferi again. Yeah. So probably just... Probably just cast this Teferi and see what our opponent does. Yeah, I don't even know if it's right for them to counter this here. I mean, it's still good play. It's fine. So on the upside, we get to knock this down to 1. Our opponent does have a Castle Ardenvale as well, so we need to be really careful.
No more game.
But yeah, we are facing down 8 cards in our opponent's hand, and they have an active Teferi, and we're dead to 1 Castle Ardenvale activation. So not feeling great about our position, and we're tapped down this turn. So opponent's going to take that out before we can take out their Ardenvale. Makes a lot of sense. Okay, opponent's going to go now, and then even if we have a Shark Typhoon, it doesn't work out for us. Because they get to activate again. So we need to like Shark Typhoon into Shark Typhoon. And we have to... So we don't have to do it now. Opponent could have a Baffling End. We could draw Baffling End as well. I mean, yep, cast out is an answer. I guess we get down our Searchlight counter. So yeah, probably just dead here. And we probably do this now to play around Censor. And unfortunately, yeah, we have to go for one of our opponent's tokens. So we're dead to pretty much anything. Baffling End, Cast Out, Fairy. Yeah, I can only imagine that our opponent has a removal spell. Sweet. So yeah, we could have played it the other way. Like I said, we didn't have to do the Shark Typhoon then when we did it. We could have done it in our opponent's turn to play around a sorcery speed, bit of removal. But if we top deck a Baffling End, and I think we have 3 in the list.
3 in the list, then we're going to feel really bad because we can't do that at that speed. But yeah, anyway, sweet. Let's sideboard. So how do we want to sideboard? I guess we're bringing in all of our vetoes. I think Brazen Borrows are coming in. Narset, Mystical Disputes. These Baffling Ends are coming out. Wrath of Gods are coming out, and Doom Scars are coming out. I mean, we could keep in like 1 Wrath of God, and then we can clear out some Sharks. I don't mind that. Yeah, Devout Decree doesn't do anything. Aethergust doesn't do anything. I don't think any of these cards do much. Heliod's Intervention, we could get lucky, I guess, and answer like multiple cast outs that our opponent has. Could get a Search Rescanter as well. And it's like a quote-unquote... Is it like a better real card than Wrath of God in this matchup? If our opponent has a Dream Trawler, the problem is if we won the matchup that we just played, game 1, then I could be convinced to bring in Heliod's Intervention instead of Wrath of God. But we're in a position now where one mistake and you lose the whole game. So I think we can't risk that our opponent doesn't have a Dream Trawler moving into this next game. Though I think if you're in a void in this matchup, when we're talking about, I think Heliod's Intervention is probably slightly better than Wrath of God, providing that your opponent doesn't draw their one of Dream of Trawler, maybe 2 of. They are running Narsets as well, so it does decrease the probability of them having Dream Trawlers. But I don't know, it's like a tough call. Let me know down in the comments what you would do. Would you bring in Heliod's Intervention here, or would you bring in the Wrath of God? I think the rest of the list is fine. We've got Mystical Disputes and Brazen Borrows. But yeah, let's run it like that. So, on the draw against the Mirror Match Azorius, what do we think of this hand? I think it's one of them hands that if we draw a land, it's going to be great. Even if we just draw 3rd land, it's going to be great, because cycling the Shark Typhoon for 1 is much better than cycling it for 0. But we have the option to cycle it for 0. I guess the way I'm going to play it is, if we don't draw land on our first turn, then we're cycling Shark Typhoon. But I think that's better than mulliganing down to 6. This is obviously, this is one of them hands. It's got that fail save. Are you going to draw land or are you not? I don't want to mulligan down to 6. Like, card advantage is so important in this matchup. And that was an excellent draw as well. So we get to hold up. We don't get to Narset on turn 3, though we probably wouldn't anyway. But we get to Shark Typhoon. And then hopefully we draw land to Shark Typhoon again. And I probably want to try and utilize this Brazen Borrower if we can. Maybe on an opposing Shark. Looks like our opponent's mana's a little bit over the place. I think they did have an Absorb in the last matchup, so quite possible that they'll have one here as well, but they will not be able to cast it. Okay, so no lands. I think, unfortunately, we're in a position where, I mean, we actually can cycle. We'll cycle this cast out, but I don't think we can tap down on our blue mana here. Yeah, I really don't think we can tap down on it. Need to hold up this Mystical Dispute and Censor. But yeah, it's probably already spelling disaster. Okay, we're not out of it yet. That is a blue source as well. We're just maybe the plan here is to lower our opponent's life total as much as possible with Shark Typhoons and then finish it off with Brazen Borrows. So we'll take our 2, and then we will Brazen Borrow that in the end step. And that puts us in a position again where if our opponent doesn't do anything, then we can just flash in the Brazen Borrow. Ah, looks like our opponent might be missing lands as well. Yeah, looks like our opponent is missing land drops. If we draw a blue source, we could be in a position where we want a Narset. Oh, opponent's missing lands, yep. So it does feel a little bit good. Do we want to Brazen Borrow here, or do we want to just Shark Typhoon for 2? Because we don't want to miss our land drops, so if our opponent's missing theirs, then we're not out of this. We've both missed... Yeah, we're going to Shark Typhoon, actually. I've talked myself out of doing the Brazen Borrow. Just because I think, like, I don't want to miss any more land drops, and hopefully our opponent is going to. As much as I like games of Magic where we both draw all of our lands all the time, I'll take whatever edge I can get. Opponent's got 8 cards in hand. Discarding a Narset, not where you want to be. So we're definitely going to play the aggressive role in this matchup. And attack in, keep going. And there's no way we're going to tap down here. Because we can Brazen Borrow this in the end step and then flash in the Brazen Borrow as well. Or Petty Theft into Brazen Borrow. And you've got to imagine your opponent's found a land, yep. So let's bounce. Wait, what did the auto tapper do there? Did it tap that correctly or not? So let's bounce this. And you got to imagine your opponent probably boarded out most of their board wipes, so they might not be able to catch up that easily. Ah, Dovin's Veto, you say? Yeah, I mean, I think that's fine. We can Petty Theft again, still holding up Mystical Dispute, so if our opponent goes for like an Absorb here, I think I'd be happy to Mystical Dispute that maybe. Veto's a good one. I think I agree with what our opponent did there. They're obviously signposting maybe a Saw It coming here. I guess we actually could just resolve to Fairy. We get to Mystical Dispute their Saw It coming. Yeah, if our opponent has a Dovin's Veto, then it doesn't look good. But if it's a Saw It coming, then it looks fantastic. And if our opponent goes Dovin's Veto into... Dovin's Veto into Mystical Dispute and Fairy on their own turn, then we're in trouble. So are we Brazen Borrowing here, holding up Veto, or are we Narseting holding up Veto? I think maybe Narset. If our opponent absorbs, are we stopping the absorb? Or if they so 3, 4, 5, 6. We've actually got 2 turn clock if we just pass the turn. So probably just do that actually, because we have quite a bit of pressure with the Castle Ardenvale as well. Okay, so I guess our opponent missed the land drop, so they're just going to scoop it up there. So yeah, again, don't know if our opponent's going to have the Dream Trawl or not, but probably just going to favour the Wrath of God over the Heliod's Intervention and just run it back. So, game 3 now against our opponent, and yeah, I think this hand's okay. Missing white mana, but we do have a Cycler with Censor, and Brazen Borrow can temper our opponent a little bit, and Search Cantus is obviously going to be amazing card advantage, so yeah, we'll probably keep this. We're also on the draw, so good chance we'll find more lands. Or you'd like to think we'll find more lands, we'll see. Certainly cycling the Censor. It is our only counter spell, but really want to find lands. We saw what happens if you don't draw lands last game. Our opponent got a little bit mana screwed. So yeah, probably just play this Irrigate Farmlands out and go Shields down for a turn. We are still representing Mystical Dispute, but we didn't show it to our opponent last game, so there's a chance they might not play around it. I think worst case scenario is, yeah, they just go like Narset or something there. So here's hoping that our opponent doesn't do anything. Maybe they cycled for a 1-1. Because we really want to cycle our Shark Typhoon. So opponent's not missing lands. Let's make a 1-1. Shark Typhoon is so good for this reason. All this little utility like the Censor and the Cast Out. Ugh. Yeah. Problem is, well, I mean, if they Teferi, I guess we'll just let them have the card, and we can always Petty Theft it back to the hand. But there we go. Don't want to risk it. We're obviously clearly signposting to our opponent that we are struggling on land drops. So plan here is to counter whatever our opponent's got. If they do nothing, then I guess we're Petty Thefting the Shark. Yeah, don't really see anything else that's really plausible. I mean, we could play out the Brazen Borrower, and then our opponent just trades it with their Shark. Is opponent going to veto this? Okay, Mystical Dispute. Sweet. It's exactly what we wanted to see. So... Our opponent definitely has a counterspell. And I think we really want this Searcher's Canter to resolve. So we're going to attack here. And just pass the turn, I think. And if our opponent does nothing, we will activate Vantress and try and hit our land drop that way. But we're very close to being able to Searcher's Canter plus hold up multiple counter spells. Providing our opponent doesn't have a Dovin's Veto. Yeah, I think both of these are fine. Just want to keep hitting lands, I think. So we get to Searcher's Canter here and hold up 2 counter spells. So if our opponent has a Dovin's Veto, so be it. Like, not much we can do about that. Okay, opponent's going to let it go. Hopefully we don't make the same mistake as last time and our opponent makes like a 4/4 Shark here and then we get hit for 5 and then we can't do anything. Okay. So if we float the mana, I guess we'll full control anyway and float the mana. Sort of screws up our Searcher's Canter, but at the same time, we're going to scry anyway, so it doesn't matter too much. So yeah, I think I like foretelling this now. We can hold up double Dovin's Veto, but odds are we're only going to... I mean, if our opponent casts out now, then we're going to want the double Dovin's Veto. Yeah. I feel like just because our opponent might cast out there, we're not going to foretell. I think we got a... How many cards we got in our graveyard? 5. I think we've got to graveyard this in the hope of hitting lands. Land is sweet. I think I'm happy to just sit back and trade now. And I think we will just, I guess, we'll tap like this. We'll leave up that field of ruin. And aim to field of ruin in our opponent's end step. But it looks like our opponent's trying to grind us out with Ardent Veil. Bit of a staring competition at the moment as well, so I don't want our opponent to be able to pressure us. I'd rather them to have the Vantress. So we'll just stop this. Also guarantees our Searcher's Canter flips on our turn. Yeah, we've got enough blue at the moment. Just to check, we do have 7, and I think a counterspell is great, so we'll just library this. And still transform. So activating Castle and activating Azcanter, we would still have double Dovin's Veto or Dovin's Veto and Saw It coming. So we won't foretell this turn. We'll just prioritize activating Azcanter here. Yeah, I think that's fine. We just want to keep drawing lands. Okay, double scry to the bottom. We've got 1 Castle Ardent Veil in the graveyard. Yeah, I think lands is what's going to allow us to take over here. I am worried about a Shark Typhoon from our opponent. But they got to be feeling the pressure now. So we're going to... We don't need to activate Castle Azcanter this turn. I'd rather cast Saw It coming and then our opponent use another counterspell and then we'll veto. Just to try and make our opponent use up more of their cards and mana. I think we're happy to just trade off 1 for 1 here as much as possible. Because we've obviously got the Castle, the Azcanter take advantage of that. See, So we'll even cast this Saw It Coming as well on the Narset and see if our opponent goes for like an Absorb here. Because they might think, oh, hang on a minute, going to get lucky and actually get this to resolve, and then we get to follow it up with Dovin's Veto. And at the end of the day, Dovin's Veto is a much better counter spell to have in your hand than Absorb, than Saw It Coming. And sweet, so our opponent's tapped down bar 1 mana now, and we can cast a Teferi, and if they have a Mystical Dispute, we can pay for that Mystical Dispute. Sweet, so yeah, okay, suddenly the tides are turning, and I'm feeling better about our position. So much so, 1 sec, 2, 4, 5, 6. So if opponent cycles the Shark on the next turn, they could be doing it for 6 or 7. We don't... if we shock this in, we get to... Yeah, if we shock this in, we get to Azcanta as well, which means we could draw into a Shark Typhoon of our own. So... I don't know, there's like loads of different things to consider at this point. We're definitely not... I think we're moving into the driver's seat. We're not in the clear just yet. I feel confident with the second Dovin's Veto in hand. How many vetoes have we gone past? I know we have 3, so we've got 1 left to grab. Yeah, I think it was right to make our opponent use up their cards there, because we just get to activate Azcanta now. Saw It Coming or Cast Out. I think I'm going to take the Cast Out just so we can potentially answer a Shark Typhoon. And I'm going to cycle this Sensor. No, probably not actually. Okay, opponent's going to let us draw, but do something before we... Okay, commit. Yeah, just let this go. No, I don't think we should let this go, actually. I think we should stop this. Because if our opponent has a Dovin's Veto in hand, we're not going to be able to resolve this second Teferi. And I think the Teferi is the thing that's keeping us in the lead at the moment. And if our opponent wants to memory, then we're not happy with that, since we're winning the card advantage war at the moment. But at the very least, we'll be able to have a Teferi on board after they do it. Yep. Oh, double Shark Typhoon. I think we only have 3 in the list, and 2 of them are going to the bottom at the same time. That is our last Dovin's Veto, and we have no counterspell in hand, so our opponent can cycle Shark Typhoon for 3. I think we're going to take the veto. Again, we can shock, and then we get... Oh, okay, opponent's just going to scoop it up. Maybe we were taking too long with our decision making. But I think that was some really tough decisions there with what we take, because both Shark Typhoons were going to go to the bottom and we had none left in the list, and that was the last veto at the same time. If we had like a Saw It Coming or Absorb in hand, then maybe I think there's probably strong argument that you take the Shark Typhoon instead. But the fact we have no count or no hard counter spell in hand apart from Censor, probably definitely taking the Dovin's Veto there. But yeah, again, let me know what you think. Like, there's a lot of decisions there. Be interesting to know different ways that people would have played, how that went. But yeah, I need to shut up and move on because we've got a lot of games to get through. So on to the next one.